hand. Spell Pierces, I think we're unlikely to see. Wrath of God, maybe. Leyline, Crows and Grip, no.
So, I like Wrath of God, actually. Well, here's the problem with Wrath of God. It makes you more of a control deck, which sounds great in a certain sense, except for you really, really need to beware of falling into archetype traps, where the aggro control deck just gets you, because by the time you get to 4 mana, you're already dead.
Right. Here's also the reason I don't like Wrath of God. If Tony sides in 3 Path to Exile and 1 Engineered Explosives to go with his other point removal, Wrath of God's usually going to kill 1, maybe 2 creatures, plus the vulnerability to Daze and Wasteland. I don't know if Wrath's worth it. I think that's more for, say, the Goblin matchup, the Merfolk matchup.
Yeah.
So we'll see what Tony Chu does. He has a lot of experience with Stoneblade. If anyone knows, he does.
Tony Chu on the left here, always a really jovial player. David Bauer on the right, also laughing at whatever's being said. I think Glenn Jones just got made fun of there.
Yeah, I think so. And
He's
I'm
an easy target.
Yeah.
He's an easy target.
Go easy on him, Tony. He gets enough of it. And our technical managers say good.
Yes, yes.
So everyone on the Glenn Jones bandwagon, if you have anything to say about Glenn Jones, tweet in at SCG Live. We'll make sure he sees it. All the players happy to have made it this far. David and Tony, both pretty relaxed. Look like they're going to have an enjoyable match of Magic.
So for the people out there who didn't hear who won the 6 free months of premium, that was indeed one. The answer to the question for the last trivia question was none. But we're going to repeat, because there were a couple people that didn't know who won it. It was Bosch Devan.
At Basius.
And that is apparently a he.
Oh, well.
See, it's interesting because our director keeps trying to tell us, and now it's interesting that our director does that, because when I had long hair, like our director does.
Yeah, you can make excuses about the tiny profile picture, but
but Bosch Devan is the one that got the 6 free months of premium when none was the answer. Now, already today, we've had a couple of champions crowned. One of our champions that we had crowned, who was it? We had Charles Gindy, who won in the standard portion with the Geistblade deck, a Invisible Stalker, Geist of St. Traff deck with Runecaster's Pike. Saul Malka won the first draft open, and now we're going to see who wins this. The Legacy Open, with David Bauer putting a tropical island into play.
So like we said, David Bauer winning the die roll will be big, but the other part of it, Delver of Secrets, is missing.
Maybe he can stifle something. Tony Chu has the exact deck list for David Bauer. You can bet that Tony is going to be probably a little conservative with his fetch lands, trying to make sure that he gets the right value out of them.
Yeah, he'll be careful with his fetch lands. He'll be careful with exposing himself to Wasteland. He knows that the mana denial aspect of David's deck is a huge part of why it's so successful. And the basic island is probably a big reason why he kept this hand.
Now, Tony Chu has 4 spell snares of his own, effective in countering Tarmogoyf and Snapcaster Mage.
Right. And the 1 Sylvan library, don't forget about that.
He's not going to counter Sylvan. He's not going to. It's not going to happen.
It's okay.
Okay.
There are always games 2 and 3. So now, David Bauer has the 2 lands he needs, the Volcanic and the Tropical. Ooh, and it looks like he's drawn a Delver for turn 2.
And whether you consider him Jeff Goldblum or if you consider him Vincent Price, Delver of Secrets is an awesome card.
It is. The Insectile Aberration. Or is it Abomination?
Aberration.
Aberration.
Can you name another aberration?
Yes. Elvish Aberration.
One of my favorites.
That took me a while.
Swords to Plowshares takes care of, I'm going to say Jeff Goldblum.
Okay. Jeff the Dinosaur Man bites it.
It's not the same Jeff Goldblum.
It sort of is.
Look at this, a basic Plains.
Wow. So Tony Chu masterfully draws his one and only basic plains and one of his 3 basic islands.
And now we have a Wasteland just sadly hanging out.
Yep.
Tarmogoyf, you might want to spend green mana on it. Does Tony see that? Okay, good. Tony sees that.
Not really a big deal. David did have the mana to cast it. Tony corrects it. And he brainstorms in response. David says, okay, no days here.
Your comment earlier about fact or fiction with Counterspell already in your hand just comes to my mind as such a happy play.
Oh, it's fun. Usually happy for the person casting fact or fiction.
It's true. You can do that in Legacy if you'd like.
Ooh.
All those cards legal.
So Tony Chu putting back Geist of St. Traft and Oblivion Ring. I don't know if he actually found a... oh, he has plenty of land, actually. Found some land off that. Already had one Wasteland. So lets it resolve, untaps, draws.
Hey, sees another card that he already saw. I wouldn't be surprised by Wasteland on the Wasteland or Wasteland on the Tropical Island right now.
The green a lot more important for David than the red. He's not really too worried about the Tarmogoyf. It's only a 2/3 at the moment, and likely to stay that way. David won't put any creatures into the graveyard.
Wasteland is going to be stifled.
Stifled.
Will he fight over that? He does have access to cards that can fight that in his hand.
Right.
Does he want to? That's a lot of work to fight over a Wasteland.
Right. I don't think he will. He has another Wasteland, and that Force of Will probably be better served elsewhere.
That was really rough for Tony, though. The sacrificing of that land, he expected to stall the game a little bit there, but all he did was stall himself.
Right. Basically gave David 2 free damage or more.
The Ponder is going to be cast.
Yep, looking at the Ponder. Volcanic Island casts Ponder. David sees Brainstorm, Wasteland, Lightning Bolt. We'll see what he does with them. He does keep them. Drawing the bolt. And is that a Sylvan Library?
I hope so.
I think it is.
Looks like one.
Wow.
Necro Husk.
This could be a Sylvan Final.
No, I think he should just cast it, even though it's possible it could get countered, because the thing is, if it gets countered, the Tarmogoyf gets all the bigger.
Right. Enchantment.
Here, even this is fine. If that gets countered, Tarmogoyf gets all the bigger.
Right. Usually you want to play your spells post-combat, but here you want to play them pre-combat.
In for 3.
Yep. Tony drops to 17. Drawing Geist of St. Traft. Wasteland again, says Tony Chu on Tropical Island. So now David has no green sources. David, or rather Tony, pretty unconcerned with his life total here. His plan is just to deny David mana and then mop up what's left.
Brainstorm. I like this main phase Brainstorm. It's the best kind.
I do like this main phase Brainstorm. But fails to find a green source or even a shuffle effect.
He does find other land, though, so he can continue to develop the board.
Right. So he'll put back the green spell and the Wasteland. Tony's Wasteland immune right now. He'll play Volcanic Island, leaving up Lightning Bolt and Snapcaster Mage, as well as the Brainstorm.
Now remember, Snapcaster can set a Ponder off.
Right. That would be very good to shuffle the deck.
It would shrink the Tarmogoyf if he did that next turn. But what it would also do is get some new cards into the action.
Right. So Tony takes it. Takes 4 damage. And now it's his turn. Draws a Flooded Strand. Plays that rather than the Tundra.
Flooded Strand, Island, Plains, and Tony Chu's side of the board, facing off against double Volcanic Island, Wasteland. In comes the 2 green creatures. The Nimble Mongoose is only a 1/1. Tarmogoyf, I believe right now, is a 3/4. Sorcery, instant land, 3/4. Snapcaster. Is this going to get a Swords to Plowshares for the Tarmogoyf? And then also block the Nimble Mongoose? Is it going to come loose? I think we're going to see a Brainstorm in response. Hunting for... Does he have a Force of Will that he's hunting for? Maybe he can find a Force of Will to stop this. There's a Force of Will.
Wow. Excellent brainstorm by David, finding just what he needs.
Puts back some cards he can't cast, and won't be able to cast over the next 2 turns. Oh, he says lets it resolve. Swords.
The Goyf.
I think he might have out-trickied himself here.
Yeah, I think I might have just countered that Snapcaster
I think what he was
mage.
thinking was he was going to let the Snapcaster block the Mongoose, but it hasn't done the blocking yet.
Right.
Okay, the Goyf, he lets it go, and now he's blocking. And Bolt will make the Mongoose big enough to kill the Snapcaster. And there's not going to be anything Tony will be able to do about that. So we're going to see a Bolt to the face,
Right.
I believe.
Dropping Tony to 9. Or...
Oh, don't wasteland your own wasteland.
Oh.
I guess that's fine. Wastelands target wasteland. That's reasonable.
Okay. So
Okay.
David sacrifices his wasteland to keep his Nimble Mongoose
That's
alive.
acceptable, I suppose. He keeps the Bolt to kill, let's say, a Stoneforge Mystic.
Right. And now Jace the Mind Sculptor looks like it might come down for Tony.
Wow. There is a Force of Will still in David Bauer's hand.
Right. Nope. A Geist of
Geist.
St. Traft.
That is a monster. That is a card to stop.
David Bauer, though, at 23 life, I think he might win this race, especially with that Lightning Bolt. Dismember in hand, too.
Remember, David Bauer's top of his library is dead.
Yes.
Lets it resolve. In will come the Mongoose. Tony Chu goes to 9. Says go. Geist. Tony draws quickly. Draws all of his basic lands. All 4 of them are in play. Geist comes in. An Angel is made. 6 damage will be hit on the head for David Bauer. After combat, Tony Chu drops Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Leaving up 1 mana to play around Daze. So it's interesting how conservatively David Bauer has used his cards this game.
Maybe he doesn't have another blue spell in his hand. Maybe what I'm seeing down there is the Dismember.
Oh, that could be it.
I mean, I thought there was another blue card in there. Brainstorm burying David Bauer here. Brainstorm being cast by Jace the Mind Sculptor, not by Tony Chu.
Right. I thought if that's a Snapcaster mage in hand, David Bauer's plan is just to burn Tony Chu out. 3 to Tony, bring him to 6. This Nimble Mongoose will bring him to 3. And theoretically, if that's a Snapcaster mage in hand, it'll bring him to dead.
Going for the spell. A Force of Will here from Tony will keep him alive.
Yep.
Tony is now at 2.
2 life. Snapcaster is countered, and now David Bauer only left with a Sylvan Library that he cannot cast, a Dismember that he can, and a Force of Will of his own, which he has no blue card.
Yeah, so that was the situation. There was no blue to join that Force of Will.
Right. He could have pitched a Snapcaster, but he felt that his best chance of winning was just to burn Tony out.
That's very aggressive. I mean, I would have probably stopped that Jace. That Jace is just going to bury him.
Yeah, there's really not all that much cost to spending 1 turn to kill Jace.
And now we're seeing Stoneforge Mystic here.
Yep, that'll search up the Batterskull. Oh, actually, he can cast Umezawa's Jitte. That might be what it gets.
He's saving time with a shortcut.
Yep.
Asks his opponent if it's okay. Opponent says yes. There's the Jitte.
Drops to 1 life Tony Chu, but that Jitte is going to ensure that 1 Lightning Bolt will not kill him from David Bauer.
Cast, equip on the Geist. Geist is pretty okay. And that's going to be the game right there.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty hard for David Bauer to beat. And those of you on Twitter asking if, basically, how can he sacrifice Wasteland to target itself, you choose targets as the first part of the ability.
Yeah. It is okay to wasteland your own wasteland.
Doesn't seem like it should be possible, but it is.
Targets chosen before costs.
Yep, exactly. So Tony Chu, main phase, gains 4 life.
And I believe that this means right here is everything. Bolt.
Land. Scoops him up.
Yeah.
Tony Chu takes game 1.
I think that letting Jace resolve was really foolhardy.
Yeah, basically, David Bauer was banking on Tony Chu not having a brain, or rather not having a force of will.
Well, the thing about it is that with that play, Tony, I believe, had 2 Jace activations before the attempt at the kill.
Wow. So he saw a lot of extra cards. Pretty unreasonable to think that throughout the entire game, no force of wills would be seen.
If I've got that wrong, if it was only even just 1 brainstorm,
Right.
I mean, that is just so much.
Right, Tony Chu would have seen about 18 cards deep into his deck at that point. Something like that, and that's a lot of cards. So we have, of course, a trivia question for you, and if you're just joining us, you're coming in a little late. We're actually in the finals of our Legacy Open in Atlanta, but if you are coming in, Tony Chu versus David Bauer. Tony Chu's up a game, and they're going to game 2. But
we have a trivia question.
We have something
what do you
else.
get? You get 1 whole year of Premium. Now, I love Premium. I've been reading Premium ever since it first started,
Right.
and I'm so glad that I have a Premium account. And I'm not just saying that because I write for Star City. I haven't been writing very much lately. I've been mostly doing the commentating, but I think that Premium is incredibly important to have. Now, I personally think a lot of the articles, particularly Patrick Chapin's articles, are great to read. Michael Jacob is the best at video
Yes.
in the industry.
I was
There's
going to
no
say
one
that.
better than Michael Jacob at video. So just with those 2 alone, I think you cover the watching aspect of the game and the reading aspect of the game. And there are so many other reasons to get Premium.
Exactly.
Now, let's pretend you're a curmudgeon. You're out there and you're like, I don't know any...
A miser.
blah, 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 blah.
Miserly with your money.
You know, for example, I could easily see Owen Turtenwald out there being like, Star City Games Premium.
Right.
I
Why
don't
would I need
care.
that? I'm the player of the year.
Player of the year.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's useful to know just so you know what other people are reading. And like I said earlier today, I definitely won several matches this week because I was like, aha, that looks like that's Jerry T's deck.
Suspicious Shimmering
I
Grotto.
wonder exactly what they will sideboard. And you know what? People do exactly what those articles do.
Right.
So if you don't like the articles, fine. At least know what other people think is good because they've been reading Premium.
Exactly. Just because you know what's right to do in a metagame doesn't mean that they do, and they're going to follow what the people on Star City Premium say.
Absolutely,
A big part of
absolutely.
it. So anyways,
1 whole year,
we have this
if you answer
question
this
for
trivia
you.
question at the hashtag SCG Premium.
Exactly.
You've got the trivia question. What is it?
The trivia question is, one of the players in our top 8 has won a Star City Open in the past. And we've mentioned it before on the stream. Which player in the top 8 was that?
Yeah.
Give you a hint, it was Legacy. Give you a
Legacy.
hint, it was in the past year.
So one of the players in our top 8 here at this Star City Games Invitational event, or not Invitational Open event, the first one of the year, has already won a Legacy.
Exactly.
Who?
Answer with the hashtag SCG Premium. You can at SCG Live if you want to, but you don't have to.
Yeah, SCG Premium is where it's at. And we're going to get back to the match sideboarding-wise. We just
Right.
saw, wow, David Bauer, I think he was just a little bit too greedy with
Well,
the Snapcaster plan.
He went for the win, and Tony had the force of will. It was a risk. I don't know if I would have taken it. I can't leave a Jace on the table. I would have killed that Jace.
Well, I wouldn't have let the Jace resolve.
Or that.
Yeah, he had the Snapcaster in hand to make the plan.
Exactly.
You know, he also had the Snapcaster, the Force of Will in hand to keep the Tarmogoyf alive when the Snapcaster came out. Like, all of that work he did, the wastelanding of his own wasteland, that all unraveled because he decided to go for this plan. I think that he was a little bit too miserly with his Force of Will there, and I think that really cost him.
Well, he scooped with the Force of Will still in hand.
Oh, I didn't even think about it. That's really, that's frustrating. Sideboarding, Red Elemental Blast.
Right. I think we'll definitely see that.
That seems like a very reasonable card. Krosan Grip. I think that also seems incredibly reasonable against a Stoneforge Mystic deck.
Right. Also has Oblivion Ring to target.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think he brings in Spell Pierce?
I think he can't overload himself with Red Blast and Spell Pierces. I think we'll most likely see Spell Pierce as an upgrade to an existing disruption spell, something like Daze, which Tony Chu was diligent to play around.
I think that you're going to see Spell Pierce replace Daze.
Yeah.
On the other side of the aisle, Path to Exile.
Of course that's coming in.
Perfect removal spell against David Bauer.
Yep.
In fact, we had our trivia question for the last round. What lands can David Bauer search for when Path to Exile hits a creature? The answer, none. And
0.
as Bosch Devon correctly answered in winning 6 months of free premium, yeah, none. Nimble Mongoose is loose. Turn 1 for David Bauer. Tony Chu comes out, gets a basic island.
Plays around Stifle using it main phase, and Wasteland getting an island.
We see a Red Elemental Blast in David Bauer's hand. In comes the Goose.
Goose does 1, 18 to 20. And David Bauer's hand, Blast, Bolt, Snapcaster, I believe. Wow, Stoneforge Mystic resolves.
Wow, Mr. Tony Chu searching through, getting a Batterskull.
Right.
This could be a very quick victory for Tony Chu.
Thing is, though, that Stoneforge Mystic not long for this world. David Bauer will fetch up a red source at some point and lightning bolt that. So end of turn, that's exactly what he's doing. He'll get a Volcanic Island, and Stoneforge Mystic will hit the bin. Tony Chu does have a Force of Will, but I'm not sure if he has another blue card. Nor do I think he would choose to fight over that bolt anyway. Yep, he instantly puts that Mystic in the graveyard, doesn't even consider forcing.
2 cards in the yard for the Goose. You know, it's sometimes when I look at Nimble Mongoose, I have to think of Top Gun. I just can't help it.
Care to share a quote?
No, thanks.
Okay.
You've lost. Tropical Island number 2 comes into play. And Nicholas Sabin, one of our esteemed event runners here, walks by and walks away when he hears the singing.
Gives us the evil eye. So David Bauer.
Wow.
Wow, okay. So GT for Tony, who's drawn the other equipment. Unfortunate for him, Stoneforge deck hates to draw the equipment, would love to just draw Stoneforge Mystic. But eventually Tony Chu will draw a Brainstorm to put that other equipment back if he wants to. And there's a Wrath of God, so you were right. He did board in the Wrath.
Well, I thought he might bring in some Wraths, but the thing about it is, it's a dangerous card to sideboard even though it has so much power.
Right. It still costs 4, and in Legacy that's a ton. That gets you Jace.
Yeah, whether it's Daze or whether it's sideboarded Spell Pierce, it's a very vulnerable card because of the time it takes to get to. Wasteland Stifle.
Right. And I see a Crucible in his hand too, so Tony brought in Crucible to fight against any possible Wastelands from David.
That is smart, actually. I think that's really smart, because he's fighting against a deck that intends to fight over his mana.
Right.
And he can just say no, but even if he's not fighting over the mana, as a card advantage engine, Crucible is one of the best.
It is. He can get back his own Wastelands. David Bauer, again, zero basics in the deck. So we'll see what happens here. Tony Chu draws Brainstorm for his turn. And we're looking at
mana.
A Crucible.
Crucible.
Leaving Daze mana up.
What does that do, says David?
David asks, do I care about that?
I would care. I would care, David.
I'm not sure what that middle card in David Bauer's hand is. It might be a promo of some sort.
Is that I can't tell either.
It could be a promo Spell Pierce. If they made that in promo.
I am not good with promos. I just don't know what any of them are.
David Bauer draws a Wasteland. Turn after his opponent resolves Crucible.
Well, no targets. Tony Chu has all 4 basic lands
Again.
out. Only 1 fetch land to get them. Just naturally drawing the other 3.
Right. David Bauer attacks Tony Chu down to 14 life, plays Wasteland, and says go. He can't be happy with how this game's going.
Okay, we're going to see from the yard a fetch land come into play.
Right. It'll fetch up Tundra, which will get Wastelanded, but the damage will be done. Wrath of God will most likely be cast here.
Well, let's see. I see Tony Chu has put a Misty Rainforest towards the top. Maybe he's forgotten. Nope. Okay, there it is.
Can't get
Misty
one past Tony Chu.
Rainforest. There we go. Tundra will be coming out to play.
And Tony Chu will say, 2 for 1, thank you very much, David Bauer. Uh-oh, did we board the Tundras out? Nope.
Oh man.
Oh, okay. Abe Stein from Twitter says that's an FNM Crozen Grip in David Bauer's hand.
Well, I would use that as soon as humanly possible. We're going to see a Wrath of God.
Diligently playing around Days is Tony Chu.
And to be fair, he couldn't cast it last turn. He didn't have the white for it.
Right, but if you'll notice, this entire game he has been,
This
all
is
except
true.
the Stoneforge. He cast Crucible on 4 and Wrath of God on 5.
Okay, both of those creatures die. Now, one line of play I would like to see here is a Croson Grip on that
Snapcast.
on that Crucible.
No, it's going to be a Snapcaster flashing back Lightning Bolt. He knows he has to keep the pressure up because eventually Tony Chu will find a creature for that GT. And Tony has the option to Force of Will. He has a Snapcaster and a Brainstorm in hand. So we'll see what he does. And they remember the 1 from the Fetchland. So he brainstorms.
In response. There's a Spell Snare. There's a Jace. There's
Wow.
a Mana Leak.
Just chock full of gas is Tony Chu. And with infinite fetch lands from his graveyard, he'll be able to shuffle as much as he wants.
Well, that fetch land could probably be going the way of the Dodo at the end of this turn.
Yep.
Or even at the beginning of the next turn. Jace goes away. Interesting. Pyroblast. And then the target is going to have to be, it looks like, probably Lightning Bolt here. End of the turn, fetch.
Yep. Tony Chu will take 3 damage and then 2 more on David's turn. If that life total is correct, he'll be at 8.
One of the things to remember, very important, Snapcaster Mage says until the end of the turn a card gains flashback. That does not mean you have to cast it immediately.
Right. So if there was some sort of counter war, or if Tony Chu had a blue card in play, he could target Red Blast. But instead, Lightning Bolt bringing Tony Chu to 9. That's the correct life total for Tony Chu. Now 7.
And now David Bauer, right now, I would say get that Croson Grip going. I know you've got a JIT there. GT, I should say. Oh, I do not like that.
I disagree. I think he needs to save that for the GT.
Really?
He's not going to win this long game, and Tony Chu has a Batter Skull in hand, too. So we'll see the skull. It will get gripped. But that will be David Bauer's last spell.
Fair enough, fair enough. I thought he had a little, like one more piece of juice in his hand, but that's it?
That's it.
Ugh.
So Batter Skull down.
Tony Chu is still in trouble here. Spell Snare, that's actually kind of useful. There aren't very many creatures in David Bauer's deck, or sorry, in Tony Chu's deck.
That's very good right now, since the only way that he can interact with that Snapcaster is the Snapcaster of his own.
A Spell Snare drawn by Tony Chu. There's a Force of Will there, so a Snapcaster, if he casts it, he can toss the Spell Snare to the Force of Will to fight the other Spell Snare.
That's a Mana Leak in his hand, I think.
Oh, it's a Mana Leak?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a blue card either way.
Right, but you can't flashback Force of Will using the alternate cost.
That's not what I'm suggesting.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that when this Spell Snare is cast by David Bauer is cast, that Tony Chu has the ability to toss a card to counter the Spell Snare. What? He has a Force of Will in his hand, doesn't he?
No, that's Mana Leak, and that's Spell Snare of his own.
Oh, okay.
And David Bauer drew a lightning bolt.
I thought that there was a force of will in Tony Chu's hand still. I wasn't talking about flashing.
Oh, okay.
I thought there was a force of will in Tony Chu's hand.
No, he only had Mana Leak, which couldn't do anything. So he had Mana Leak, he had Spell Snare. Neither one could counter David Bauer's spells. So we're going to a game 3. You know what? I doubted David Bauer that game. I didn't think he was going to win.
I didn't think he was going to do that either. And I apologize for not seeing that as a Mana Leak. I thought that was a force of will in Tony Chu's hand. So didn't mean to confuse everyone there.
So now they go back to the sideboards. At least David Bauer does. So in case you guys missed it, we'll repeat the trivia question again. Use hashtag SCG Premium. Which of the players in the top 8 has won a Star City Open? If you answer that correctly with the hashtag, you can win 1 free year of Premium. So we're going into the last game of the final match of the weekend. Who's your money on, Adrian?
You know, I actually still think that David Bauer has the edge, just from the archetype standpoint. Tony Chu, I like the card Wrath of God, but it does, whatever he's using to make himself go that direction, he's shifting into more of a controlling deck. I mean, obviously he still has the Stoneforge Mystic package. You just want to make sure that you keep yourself not going too controlly, because if you are too controlling, a aggro control deck traditionally has the best matchup against a control deck.
Right. I think I'm actually going to go with Tony Chu. I think that he has the tools, he is on the play, and if he can just get a little better draw than he had that game, he drew a lot of ineffective cards against David, he'll be able to take it down. And I still don't really like his sideboard plan of Wrath of God. I really don't. I just like overloading on spot removal instead.
And there was a question on Twitter about the Grand Prix happening right now. And yes, that is Star City Games Invitational Champion Patrick Cox.
Patrick Cox. Very nice.
I hope that he wins.
Good man, Patrick Cox. So players chatting away. They don't even seem to be concerned that this final game is for a lot of money, do they? They're pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
They've both been here before in the top 8 of an Open.
Okay. Do we have a mulligan here for Tony Chu?
It looks like we do. And
Look
David
at that,
Bauer,
though. Look at his smile. He's like, well, that's all good, you know.
David Bauer mulling too. He just revealed 4 cards from his deck, and the way he's putting them in there, it looks like he drew all 4 of one spell.
Yeah, and it sounds like Invitational Champion Patrick Cox has lost in the finals to Raphael Levy.
Wow, Raph Levy, congratulations to him for winning the GP. Congrats to Pat Cox, too, 2nd place.
And thank you to Tony Tipa Palioco for giving me that information.
Wow.
Classic old school Arizona player who's moved up to the, I believe, the Northeast now.
Okay, I'd probably recognize him at our PTQs then. So both players going to be on 6. Not sure who this favors, actually.
Yeah. Honestly, I have never seen anyone smile as much when they mulligan as Tony Chu. I've seen him play quite a few games under the lights here for Star City Games, and he is always smiling, even when things are happening that aren't great.
Well, it seems like he's always winning.
He's doing pretty well.
He's 1-0 in feature matches today. We'll see if he can make that 2-0.
We're rapidly approaching 11 p.m. At that point, that means we started broadcasting a mere 36 hours ago.
Has it been that short of time?
It has been that short of time.
So
37 hours ago, actually. I'm sorry. 37 hours ago.
It's already been established we both can't do math.
Math is hard.
It is. So both on 6 cards. Tony Chu on the play for this final game of our Legacy Open. And it looks like...
You see him wipe the non-existent sweat off of his brow?
Trying to get in David Bauer's head there. And they both keep.
Planes.
Of course.
Planes. How many planes does this gentleman run?
Uno. Just one, planes. So it looks like David Bauer's hand features a Grim Lavamancer, and I believe that was a Red Elemental Blast. All I made out so far.
Tropical Island from David Bauer, fetched up by a Scalding Tarn.
Right, that is a legal fetch off the Tarn.
Excellent.
And Nimble Mongoose resolves. Tony Chu draws a Path to Exile and lays a Mishra's Factory, casting Stoneforge Mystic.
Oh, do you have a daze?
Not a daze. Not a
It
daze.
looked like a defeated little from our player David Bauer, running with Rug Delver.
Pointing at the lightning bolt in his hand, cannot wait to cast it. Fetches up the Skull. So Tony Chu would love that Stoneforge Mystic to live, but that will not happen. That Stoneforge Mystic is not long for this world. And he says go. Tony Chu untaps, draws. Oh, could that be a Sylvan Library? I think it is. So he may still.
Sylvan.
And that Sylvan's
Please cast a Sylvan. Actually, though, cast a Bolt first.
Not this
cast
game.
A
Not
Bolt
this
first.
turn. Sylvan Library is actually going to be really, really good for David this game. He's under no pressure from Tony.
Attack for 1. One of the reasons that the Nimble Mongoose is not in one of my favorite cards is you have to work pretty hard to get it to be a 3/3.
Right.
Geist.
Ooh, did I say no pressure from Tony?
Take that back.
Yeah, I do. That's 6 damage a turn, and Nimble Mongoose is not even close to becoming a 3/3 yet. So David Bauer drawing another land. Looks like he has Tarmogoyf, Sylvan Library, Tropical Island, Misty Rainforest, and I thought that was a Grim Lavamancer before, but that might be a Red Blast in his hand.
I think it's a Grim Lavamancer, but I can't tell yet. Fetching. What are you getting there?
Another Volcanic, bringing up to 2 red sources. And the final game of this Legacy Open might just be decided by a Geist of Saint Traft. Sort of ironic. That's what decided the final game of our Standard Open, too. And David, that was a Grim Lavamancer, and that's what he casts. Finishes up with Sylvan Library. And passes back.
Okay, I'm Adrian Sullivan here, joined by Zach Galifianakis.
That's me.
Maybe it's Zach Hall.
No, it's me, Zach G. I've shaved my beard. My long beard.
Sylvan Library.
He sees land.
Let's see what he does with these 3 cards. Does he do anything sneaky? Just 1 is reasonable, depending.
Well, David Bauer definitely in a rough spot here. He's going to make sure to take his time on this because he knows that any decision he makes could be his last here. David, with a shrug of his shoulders, looks like he is thinking about Tarmogoyf. And Tarmogoyf it is. And he almost put down his Crozen Grip onto the table face up, but decides on the Tropical Island instead.
Okay, on the left you can see Tony Chu. Tony Chu and David Bauer have both been involved in top 8s before. This is not their first time. And the life totals, we're going to get those corrected once we get the opportunity to get that correct.
Yep.
And as you can see here, in one side of play, Tony Chu has a Mishra's Factory, 2 Tundras and a Plains with a Geist of St. Traft. David Bauer on the other side with 2 Tropical Islands, 2 Volcanic Islands. We're seeing a Path to Exile on one of the creatures in play. That's a Tarmogoyf.
Freshly cast Tarmogoyf.
Tarmogoyf goes away. David Bauer has the option to shuffle here. He knows what's on top with his Sylvan. Does he remember?
I don't think he wants to shuffle.
He might like those cards on top. Or maybe he forgot.
Right. And end of turn also Snapcasters the Path to Exile, and that will target, of course, the Grim Lavamancer.
Wow. David is at 12 life currently, Tony at 19.
And Lavamancer on the way out will kill the Snapcaster. So David down to just a Nimble Mongoose with 1 out of 7 to Threshold. Tony with the Geist that's taking chunks out of David Bauer.
Geist comes in, knocking David Bauer to chump. Knocking David Bauer to 8.
Right, the Angel Token hits him to 8. And Tony Chu with 2 Snapcaster Mages for backup. Nothing to flash back yet. And yeah.
Okay, with those, and that's
the
it.
hand. Congratulations to Tony Chu, our legacy champion.
Now, David Bauer there, he could have shuffled the library, so that maybe he could have found something new.
The Sylvan Library came back to bite him, just as Jesse.
Look at that. Tony Chu. Pretty happy there.
David Bauer gracious in defeat, congratulates his opponent, but obviously isn't happy.
Now, no spoiler, you might have already won at home if you knew that Tony Chu has already won a legacy.